I don't think we really need Pluto to be extra powerful because now it's nuclear. I'm too big for this studio. I need more room. You got the Baptist preacher. What do we believe in? Like, your oppressors might be quite stupid. It's so deep and it's so vast. You don't have time for betrayers. So you are out of there. Seek a new meaning out of life. Hi, my friends. I hope you are wonderful. I'm Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer, and we are talking about Pluto in Aquarius transiting your natal chart. So where do you have those beginning degrees of Aquarius? And I hope you've been enjoying this series. Okay, take your gorgeous natal chart, go and find where you have those early degrees of Aquarius. It's a space, it's not a planet that we're talking about. And that is where Pluto is up in the constellations right now, orbiting our sun. This is so profound and so powerful, but we are in an astrological mixology class together today. I want to teach you deep astrology, powerful astrology, and I want to help you unleash and unlock the subconscious terrain that's kind of bossing you around without you even knowing it, because that's Pluto. So we have to, in our mixology class today, our concoction consists of Pluto, right? And Pluto represents the underworld. Pluto is Hades, the god of the underworld, or death and rebirth and transformation. Trust me, it always starts with death, loss, divorce. We start with Pluto. Then we talk about the Aquarius flavor that Pluto is now in. It just left Capricorn. Did you guys all watch my very first video on Pluto in Aquarius and what does it mean for the next 20 years? Yes, you absolutely, it's mandatory listening. You have got to go watch that video because I spend over an hour telling you just what Pluto in Aquarius means. Now, what we're going to do to make it personal to you and your karmic lessons and take a look at what's happening in your life over the next 20 years, starting right this nanosecond, is we have to figure out what house transiting Pluto in Aquarius is in your chart. Okay, so we're not really talking about your natal Pluto. However, caveat for my advanced learners, my beginners, please don't get discouraged. The more time you spend with me, the faster your astrological knowledge is going to grow, and you are going to get so smart so fast if you watch all 2,000 of my videos. I think I now have more than 2,000 videos in this library. So you can become quite an expert in astrology just listening to this channel. So what I want to say is, again, right now, Pluto is at the 0 degree Aquarius marker. There's 30 degrees per sign, per constellation. And it just left Capricorn, and it was at that perilous anaretic degree, the 29th degree, for so long. If you want to know what the 29th degree means, did you know that there is a meaning for every single degree in the zodiac? Yeah, Pisces at 15 degrees or 16 degrees or Virgo at 12 or 2. They all have a meaning. And if you really want to know about the meaning of the degrees, go get my Deacons workshop, because I taught those degrees and their meanings for an entire day in Seattle last year. And you can just go to Shop Soul Navigation and go get that video. It is fascinating. And it's fascinating to know what the degrees mean in your own chart, the degrees of your planetary positions. But right now we're at the 0 degree. That's the most powerful degree in the zodiac. And you know that we have 12 0 degrees because we've got a 0 degrees in Aries, and we've got a 0 degrees right because it starts over. It goes 1 through 2959, and then it goes to 0. So the 29th degree is really imperative to understand. The 15 degree is imperative to understand. The 0 degree is imperative to understand. And you can watch my free video called The Power of the Degrees, the 0, 15, and 29. But all of the degrees actually have a meaning. Pluto is transiting through Aquarius 0 to 29 degrees, 59 minutes, which is like 30. And it's going to take 20 years. And so it spends a long time on each degree. And Pluto retrogrades for half of the year, I should say. So it spends 6 months retrograding. So it does linger on the different degrees. This is all very, very important. But what I want you to do is watch this video mostly for where you have 0 degrees or just Aquarius in your chart, because you know Pluto is on the 0 today, December 20th, 2024, and it's going to take 20 years approximately to move through all of Aquarius. So wherever you have Aquarius in your chart, and if you're studying with me and if you've got your gorgeous natal chart from my shop, which I highly, highly recommend, it's so easy to read. We make them ourselves. They're absolutely exquisitely beautiful. And like I said, we make it so simple to read. You can find all your degrees very easily. I want you to figure out where you have Aquarius in your chart. And like I said, if you've got one of mine, you've got it in the house system called Placidus. That's what I use. I'm an evolutionary modern astrologer, and I use the house system Placidus. I'm not a whole sign astrologer. So if you are studying with me and you have your house in Placidus or Porphyry or Coke, then you could have your Aquarius sign straddle 3 different houses. Yeah. So if you are studying traditional astrology and you are using the whole sign house system, you are only going to have Aquarius straddle 1 house, not 3. So with me, you could have Aquarius in 3 different houses. So you would need to listen to all 3 houses in this series. Now, I want to make a confession to you. When I looked at, very briefly, I don't have a lot of time to even watch YouTube, but when I looked at creators or astrologers' work on Pluto through the houses, most videos have it in one single video for an hour long, and it just doesn't give Pluto its due. If you've watched all of my Pluto videos, you know how deep I go, because we are talking about the darkest place in your chart. I mean, this is Hades. This is hell. And we rebirth ourselves out of this hell. It's the psychological wound that haunts us, that torments us until it doesn't. I started talking about Pluto, and I started, of course, with Pluto transiting in Aquarius in the first house, and it took me 40 minutes. And then my fabulous editor got it down to like 32 minutes. And so I just decided to make this into multiple segments. Why? Because you deserve it. And when I listen to some of those videos, it's as if they're talking about Mercury or Mars or Jupiter. And this ain't any of that. No. This is Pluto. And you cannot talk quickly about Pluto. It would be like me asking you, oh, tell me about, I don't know, some tragedy in your life. Tell me about your heroin addiction and how you overcame it. Oh yeah, it was real bad. I found my voice and my power eventually. And I eventually started to speak up for myself, and it got better. I promise you that is not the story of your heroin addiction, right? We are talking about the darkest part of your life, of your contract, of your natal chart. It's painful and it's tough, and it deserves poignancy and tenderness and empathy and intelligence and accuracy, right? And so that's what I wanted to give you. And so when I started on this journey, I thought I was going to do a Pluto through the houses, all 12 houses. And then I quickly realized after I got through Pluto in the first, I can't do that. Pluto work is exhausting. It's actually really hard for me to go into the depth of it because it's talking about a big subject. I'm very funny in a lot of my videos, but there's not a lot, Pluto does not have a sense of humor. Pluto has power. It deserves its own space and place. So this is what I would like you to do. I would like for you to figure out where you have Aquarius in your chart and listen to those houses in this series, okay? So if you have it in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, listen to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, because you might be only on the 3rd right now with those early degrees in Aquarius, but the 4th is coming up, and then you're ending with the 5th in 20 years' time. And I want you to know your journey. Why? Because knowledge is power. Knowledge is the weaponry that you need to spar with, combat, or I don't know if we can conquer Pluto, at least understand Pluto. Knowledge. So the second thing, and this is for my advanced students, what I was originally going to say is, and don't get discouraged, because I have a lot of people saying, you're too difficult, you're too hard. Well, go watch my beginner videos. I have like 45 videos in Learn Astrology with me, Astrology 101 playlist. Start there and then come back here, because I promise you, it's not going to be too hard after you watch those 45 videos. And it's a fascinating world to live in, the astrological world, and seeing life through the astrological lens. Okay. The second way that you can benefit from this Pluto series is go figure out where you have Pluto in your chart natally. So if you have Pluto in the 2nd house, and this is totally different than Pluto transiting in Aquarius, just if you have Pluto in the 2nd house, listen to the house that you have Pluto in natally in this series to just start to understand, to just start to listen to what subject matter Pluto is going to work with you on in this whole entire lifetime. So your natal Pluto is stagnant. It doesn't move. Transiting Pluto is up there, transiting, orbiting, right? And you're probably only going to experience Pluto in 6 different houses if you live a long life. Maybe if you don't live a long life, you'll only experience it in 1 or 2 houses. You're not going to have Pluto transiting all of your houses because it moves so slowly. So the last time Pluto was here in this space was in 1776, 1777. Can you believe that? And that's when the United States was declaring itself an independent country. And have you been watching the news? Yeah, it's a political shitstorm. I don't care what country you're in or what side of the rainbow you stand on. It is a political shitstorm. Everybody breaking away from everybody, everything, independence, declaring independence and not, oppressing others, others rising up, others not, taking people's voices away, it's a political shitstorm. And so we're really going through it. We're going through very similar things that we went through in 1776. And I talk a lot about that in What Does Pluto in Aquarius Mean? Pluto transiting in Aquarius, it's cataclysmic changes. So you can look for your natal Pluto and listen to this series. But I have an entire Pluto playlist where I talk about Pluto through the houses. I also go very, very deep. Like if you're doing Pluto work, you're doing deep, deep work. In that playlist, you can also go there for more information on Pluto in your respective houses. Right now, where is Pluto in Aquarius transiting in your chart? Because that's a big deal. And right now, today, it's at the 0 degrees. And it's going to live there for a little while. It's going to live 0, 1, 2. And it's going to swing back and forth. 0, 1, 2, 2, 1, 0. 0, 1, 2, 2, 1, 0. Because it retrogrades for half of the year. I got to say one more thing. And that is, don't just listen to your own house. I really want you to listen to this entire series in the entirety of it. Because when you don't have Pluto in the 9th house, one of the ways you can know yourself better is to also know what you're not, right? And so if you don't have Pluto in the 9th house, listen to what Pluto in the 9th house is. Maybe you have friends and family that will be going through this because this is cataclysmic. This is cathartic. This is really a game changer because we have passed the baton on to Aquarian energy and we've taken it away from Capricorn energy. So we've entered a new era. We've entered a new dawn, entered a whole new cycle. We are creating a whole new generation. And it has a lot to do with human advancement, technology, robots, aliens, space, advancement in medicine, advancement in math and science. The STEM classes or courses or jobs will be really affected over the next 20 years. I really think it's important for you to know how Pluto is going to work through the houses. If you like somebody in the world, like a famous person, go see where they have 0, 1, and 2 degrees Aquarius in their chart and where their world is kind of crumbling and being sort of destroyed in order to create a new kind of power within. Pluto is named after the Roman god of the underworld, and it represents power. It represents the ability to transform, and it operates at the subconscious level. So you're not even aware. It's your psyche. It is a very, very intense planetary placement in your chart. It creates a rebirth through the destruction of the old, right? The destruction of the old world. We can see that. Just open up your newspaper, open up your Google, the destruction of the old world, and it brings in a whole entire new world. It destroys pieces of your life, your identity, yourself, your ego that no longer benefit your higher self. It creates sort of a personal awakening, a personal evolution, a personal or a soul's growth, but it is painful. However, the butterfly does not remember the pain it went through when it was a caterpillar and lost its identity. So there's a personal evolution here with this Pluto transformation. It is the psychological wound. So if you are fascinated with Pluto and you really want the deeper meaning of Pluto, I have a video called Beware Pluto in the Natal Chart. And that's the video you should really watch if you want to understand what this catharsis is all about, transiting Pluto in the 8th. So if you have Aquarius in your 8th house in those early degrees, then I'm talking specifically to you. Okay, you know that the 8th house is sort of a continuation of the 7th house, and this is the house of intimacy. It's also the house of sex and death. but it is a house of money. It is a house of shared resources. So your partner's resources or your resources with your partners and your money that you have invested in. It could be a life insurance policy, a lottery winning ticket. It could be your 401k plan, your mutual fund. But this is the house of shared resources. This is another house of us, of the intimacy inside our relationship, of a conjoining together, a becoming together as one. So when you have Pluto transiting us, right, it means your relationship, probably with your intimate relationship, is probably going to go through a deep transformation of sorts, and you are going to probably be forever different. You could step into a massive amount, a powerful amount of money. You could step into understanding more deeply the intimate intricacies inside your relationship and what your partner really needs. You could step into needing to cash out a life insurance policy, receiving an inheritance, purchasing property that changes your life for the next 20 years. You could also experience a loss of money, an investment gone wrong. However, it doesn't always mean that it's a loss. It could be a gain. It could be a win, but it recreates a new identity and a new value system. In a way, you're valuing this relationship differently now. And if you don't have a relationship, this could just be the relationship that you do have with yourself. It doesn't have to be a sexual relationship. You could experience a loss, a divorce from a friendship, somebody who you are intimately with. Intimacy, it does include sex, but it is not always sexual. It's just, who do you share your soul with? And so there could be, you could have your soulmate have to take a job overseas, and it's changed your relationship. You could also, at this time, get rid of or lose or divorce friendships that are too superficial, friendships that don't go deep enough, people who you've shared your soul with and they don't reciprocate. And if you don't have a partner, this could be your money, your inheritance, your mutual funds, your 401k plan, your savings account, your taxes. And so if Pluto is transiting the 8th house and you have hard aspects to other planets with this Pluto, and you haven't been paying your taxes appropriately, right? This is a time when you could be audited. So you want to be careful and you want to be awake. It's a time when you could really be affected, like I said, by an inheritance or cashing out a 401k that could dramatically change your life, for richer or for poorer, right? Maybe you didn't get the inheritance you thought you were. You could also feel very cheated with Pluto here and betrayed, and you don't have time for betrayers. So you are out of there, right? Like, I am not doing this. I'm not hanging out with cheaters, abusers of power. You could also find out that your partner never paid their credit card, or your partner had a bankruptcy and never told you, or your partner bought a house in your name. You could also experience identity theft here. So just remember, there's a huge financial portal to this house too. So if you don't have a partner, I want you just to pay attention that there is deep, profoundly deep transformation when Pluto goes through its own house, because the 8th house is naturally Scorpio's house, and it is naturally, ruled by Pluto and Mars. So Pluto is comfortable here in this depth, but it is also going to kind of require you to walk across hot coals and get really real. Think about the 8th house as shared resources, shared money, and also think about how you share yourself emotionally with others. So who are you sharing yourself with deeply, emotionally, vulnerably, right? Who are you vulnerable with? I actually call this house the bathtub, because who would you take a bath with? That's who's in this 8th house. So a bath is very intimate. And so I want you to know that you could go through a crisis, an upheaval, a change with those who you are really vulnerably intimate with. You could really question your emotional connection at this time. Is it deep enough? Is it fulfilling enough? Is it authentic enough? Is it real enough? Does my partner want to grow with me emotionally, psychologically, spiritually? Does my partner embrace my spiritual leanings and learnings? And this also could be a great time where you should really write up your will and write up your wishes for your celebration of life. At the end of your life, what do you want? It's important to think about these things so your loved ones are left with a roadmap and not just grieving and also at a loss with what to do. When Pluto transits the 8th, I promise you one thing, you're going to get in touch with that which you are afraid of, and you're going to face it. Probably you will even want to, so you can really overcome phobias and fears. Secrets come to light in the 8th house. You learn about the bad habits or the truth about people that you care about. It really wants to help you live in the psychological and emotional truth with another person. So when you bond with another person in an emotional way, when Pluto transits this house, you can feel sometimes abandoned by that person. You can sometimes feel betrayed. You can sometimes learn that you were betrayed. It makes me think about the French woman from Avignon who was raped by over 50 men after her husband drugged her and put her to sleep. And then, you know how he was caught? He was caught by using filming up women's skirts in the grocery store. And had he never done that, he probably would have never been caught. Anyways, that bubbled up and came to light. I'm wondering where her Pluto transit is. That's what I want to ask. And is it in the 8th? Secrets will be known now. The truth about your life and your identity will be clearer now. This can also be a great time for healing, like the healing of all of those wounds. Now, when you were little, 0 to 14, you probably were intimate. Of course, I'm not speaking sexually, but you were probably intimate with your parents. You relied on them for money. You probably shared with your parents. Now, not everybody is like this, but your most intimate relationships at the beginning of your life might have been with your parents. Maybe not. But think about who, maybe it was a grandmother, maybe it was an aunt or whatever, right? And that person was somebody had to take care of you. If you're alive today, somebody took care of you. I mean, you don't know how to make breakfast at 2 years old necessarily. Maybe you're starting to learn, I eat this, but I'm just saying somebody took care of you. That's intimate. And you had to rely on them. That's vulnerable. You are vulnerable. When you are dependent, you are vulnerable. And so this house can make you realize the truth about your dependency, your codependency, and your independence inside your most intimate relationships. And you can learn the truth about the person in your life or the people in your life that you are dependent on. And so this can be a great awakening, just a tremendous awakening for you to learn the truth. I want to also say that this being the house of sex, this is a time when you can really have a complete deconstruction and reconstruction around your attitudes, your preferences, your choice, your expression, your sexual expression. There will probably be a change here. Now, I have no idea what it's going to be, but you might no longer be attracted to what you once were attracted to. Your type might change. You might want something new, something different. You might also feel like, hey, I haven't really been able to explore my sexuality, and now I give myself permission to do so. But there is a deepening and a change around you as a sexual being. And there will be a shift around sexuality. I wonder what that's going to be if you have this. You might come into light around what you really need to be sexually pleased, to be fulfilled. And you may have even denied that part of your life or of yourself for a long time, and now you want to explore it. So out of Pluto comes a great liberation. You might also forgive or come to terms with or confront somebody who was a sexual predator or violated you sexually. You might confront somebody who wounded you sexually or hurt you that way. I have a girlfriend who was molested by her father over and over and over when she was young. And she's kind of afraid that he may have molested her girlfriends, although she didn't get to figure that out. Well, before he died, not only did she confront him, she recorded her interviews with him. She went down to his nursing home and she interviewed him. And she has the tapes, and she showed me the tapes, and they're god awful to watch. And she asked the questions, why'd you do that to me? She told me she needed to do that. She wrote a book about it. And she talks openly about getting therapy, getting help, and how to heal yourself from sexual abuse. And she wrote this book, and she's really gone public with her story. She's quite a brave woman. And I thought she was really brave confronting her father. And I thought her father's brazen answers were just shell-shocking. But we got to see into the mind of a sexual predator. And that reminds me of Pluto in the eighth, like confronting your abuser. Now, I'm not recommending this. It has to be right for you. She did it with a lot of therapy and a lot of thought. And she was 50 something years old when she did this. But she told me that she has no grudges, she has no regrets, and she is completely healed from her past because bringing it into the light helped her heal it. Telling on him, telling the truth, unmasking him and showing his face and using his words in the interview helped heal her. What was interesting is he did tell her in those interviews, I'm sorry I did that. So the eighth house, it's vast, it's big, it is wide. It has the power to completely transform your identity. And, you know, she had her identity wrapped around that abuse that had gone on for like over 7 years in her life daily. Ugh, I can't even imagine that. And she over-identified with that, like that stripped away her self-esteem. She lived privately and secretly out of that wound in every relationship. It eroded her. She felt contaminated. You know, I didn't see that in her, but she felt that way. And she's liberated from that. So when you do your Pluto work, it can end up being the most powerful planet in your chart. And so this is where I say, I really recommend learn deep astrology with me. Watch my entire Pluto playlist. Get to know Pluto and what it's wanting to transform in your life. With this placement, Pluto transiting the eighth house, if this is you, you are going to go where angels fear to tread. And you are going to work on the deepest of grief with this placement. You're going to hopefully transform your life by transforming your wounds, healing them and letting them go so you can live in the light. Pluto transiting the eighth, and just Pluto in the eighth, is also, the eighth is a spiritual house. It's a water house. It's the esoteric house. It's the mystic's house. It is the occult. It is witchcraft. It can be astrology, psychology. It can be the Ouija board, you know, it can be Reiki, energy healing. But I'll tell you that you could come into contact with a new teacher or a guru. Now, the ninth house is really the teacher. But what happens is when we have transiting Pluto in the eighth, we oftentimes are influenced by another person's belief system. Remember, this is the co-mingling of resources. And another resource is it's not just sex, it's not just emotional, intimate connections, and it's not just money. It can be spiritual beliefs too, or the undercurrents of the esoteric world, the mysterious, mystical world, right? And some of that belongs in the 12th, some of that belongs in the 4th, and some of it belongs in the 8th. But there is this dance. There is this dance with maybe coming into contact with a spiritual mystic, if you will, a shaman whose job it is to help with transformation. And you start to, or a yogi, and you start to adopt their belief system. And it starts to change your identity. And you have a complete shift in this new mystical, esoteric belief system. And it can be extraordinarily powerful. You could also enter a cult. I mean, you could. And so you want to be careful with, whose philosophy are you adopting, and source it and research it, right? It could be the death of your old belief system. And maybe you felt your old belief system was too narrow. And now you want to study, where does the soul live in between lifetimes? And, Brian Weiss's channeling your past lives. And you want to understand the evolution of your soul's growth and have spiritual awakenings. And you need a guide or a leader to help you understand those things and walk into that mystical terrain that is buried underneath, or that you were never allowed to explore. This might be sort of a self-undoing, or an undoing, I should say, of more conservative thinking or believing, a more conservative relationship with your psyche, right? And now you might be more willing to really step into understanding death and dying. I will also say, and I don't want to scare anyone, but you could have a near death experience when Pluto is transiting the eighth house, or a brush with death. You could meet your guardian angel. You could actually have an experience where you cross over and come back. You could end up seeing or experiencing the Rainbow Bridge and the other side. I also think you could have a visit from the aliens with this position. So I want to talk about the Aquarius piece of that. And all of that I just talked about, I now want you to think about the upgraded mental version of all of that. So upgrading your thoughts about sex, upgrading your desires inside a relationship, like wanting it to be deeper, wanting to deepen your relationship, upgrading your relationship to your partner's resources, right? Like, what could you do better, quicker, faster, moving into technology on all of these subjects. Maybe you want to be an astrologer. Well, if Pluto is transiting your eighth house, it would be quite easy for you, because I think Scorpio, the psychic realm of Scorpio, and also the psychological realm of Scorpio and Aquarius astrology are blended together here. And you could become a phenomenal astrologer. So maybe you're letting go of your bank teller job and you're going to step fully into the esoteric arts. So Aquarius levels you up. Aquarius also detaches you a little bit. So if Pluto in Aquarius in the eighth, you might feel a little bit detached while you kind of fly solo in some of these areas where having a partner benefited you at one point. And now you honestly might feel like, gosh, I've been so codependent. I want more independence around my sexuality, my sexual expression, my 401k, my inheritance. You know, my husband wants to be buried. I want to be cremated. I don't want two plots. There's an independence now with Aquarius happening here. I also think that you might even be able to teleport, like have an out-of-body experience. You might start to experience deja vu. You might step into your sixth sense. Your crown chakra might open more easily now. You literally could meet people who have crossed over, right? See them in your dreams or channel them. Your channel could open. That's all very Aquarius in the eighth house. So this is specifically for you. And I also want to say that with Aquarius in the eighth house, your whole brain could blow. I mean, it's so deep. And it's so vast and it's so uncanny. And now we're working with the unusual in the metaphysical realm and in the intimate realm of your psyche and soul. So your whole brain could just go, I mean, like, oh. And you could also face death, become unafraid of death, face your own death. You could experience death of a loved one, death of a loved one that just feels like there is no leveling up. But I promise you, Pluto has the intention, destroy and tear down to regenerate for something better. If you do your Pluto work, you will expose the lies that live inside your psyche, the lies you tell yourself. To live truthfully is harder than to live a lie. It really is, if you're doing it right. I say that because it's easier to just conform and do it like everybody told me to do it and give me the roadmap, mom, and I'll just be who you want me to be, rather than inventing yourself. So I want you to think about Pluto is reinventing pieces of you to level up, to awaken to your authentic self. In order to do that, we need to remove the lies. And there's a lot of lies that we tell about our life. And there's a lot of lies that we tell our life about our wounds. And we victimize ourselves over and over and over with those lies. I can't enter the contest because I'm not smart enough. I can't enter the beauty pageant because I'm not pretty enough. I can't apply to that school because I'm not well-rounded enough. I can't run a marathon because I'm not in shape enough, right? And the lies start with the I can't. Because I can't do that because we don't have the money. I can't do that because those are the lies. And so Pluto wants to tear down those lies on those subject matters that we talked about. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the ninth house, but first I have to go to yoga. We will move on though to the ninth. And I want to tell you, if you love learning, I'm thinking about launching an online school, like an online live class. And I want to know if you would be interested in that. Like, would you want to take, Wednesday class with Meredith? That's one question. Let me know, because I'm really contemplating doing that. How am I going to do that? Because I don't sleep and I don't stop. I don't know, but I'm thinking about it. The other thing is I want to invite you to my workshop. It is going to be absolutely amazing. You can check out all the details at teamsoulnavigation.com and just click on Meredith's Astrology Retreat. And it's going to be for 4 days at Pike's Place Market in downtown gorgeous Seattle on the waterfront. They just spent like $2 billion or something making the waterfront so beautiful, and it's ready this spring. So it's going to be the third weekend in May. We are going to learn about family tree astrology. Yes, I cannot wait to teach that. And I want you to go check out my other workshops that I'll be doing that weekend. And Connie Jo is doing something really, really special as an add-on. She is going to teach us about the asteroids for learning at lunchtime with Connie Jo. So anyways, I won't take up all your time here, but I want you to go check it out. It's affordable. It is beautiful. Find your soul tribe. If you've got Pluto in the 8th, don't miss this retreat. It is mind-blowing. The transformation of getting to work together in person with these particular souls, I know many of them that are coming, is so beyond words, the English language that I can even speak. It takes you to it catapults you to a completely different place. And who you show up as is not who you leave as. A healing of the soul work. So I hope you'll come. Check out the tickets. I still have some available, and it's the third week in May, and I can't wait. And now we're going to move on to the 9th house. So the 9th house represents your higher knowledge, your higher mind. It represents your ethics, your morality, your belief system, your philosophy. It also represents the foreigner in your chart, in your life. Maybe you're the foreigner. Maybe you are married to the foreigner. Maybe you live in a foreign country. Maybe you are not native to where you live. Maybe you love foreigners. Maybe you travel to foreign countries. And it can also represent not only your philosophy, but your relationship to spirituality or even religion, what you are indoctrinated into by your belief system. I always think of this as the house of where Buddha meets Indiana Jones, and they are in search of the Holy Temple or the Holy Grail. When Pluto is in this house, either natally, like in your natal chart, or right now we're talking about the transit. So if you're having transiting Pluto in Aquarius move through this house, what's happening is your quest for truth, your individual belief system, and your desire to explore the unknown answers, right, are all going to shift and change. And there's this profound desire, or just because you absolutely have to. Sometimes you can choose to do your Pluto work, and sometimes Pluto just chooses you. You have to transform your life and your belief systems, probably through your higher mind, higher knowledge, your spiritual development, your philosophical approach. And you're going to have to probably seek a whole new meaning out of life. And I don't know if you heard me correctly. You're probably going to have to seek a new meaning out of life. Okay. So this is very intense. I think this is sort of a transformational journey of self-discovery through shedding old beliefs that I guess you've learned the truth about. So let's say you are in a cult or a religion that feels like a cult, but your whole family wants you to believe this way. And how the hell do you get out of that when you've been indoctrinated into a political system or a religious system or a fanatical system of some sort? Maybe you grew up in the Baptist church and you no longer believe that being the spiritual gateway to the God that you have come to know. You may feel extraordinarily trapped with this placement. The entrapments of your belief system is really huge with this placement. And there's a shattering. There's a shattering because the light is going to be shined on the truth. You might even feel an ache in your soul because that which you believed in, maybe you no longer do. You may have a loss in faith. You may have a loss in your cultural identity. For example, if you are living in a cultural, societal, and cultural box that doesn't allow you to live your true and authentic self. When Pluto transits this house, you leave. you're fed up, you're done, because there's a part of you that feels like you'll die if you stay in someone else's cultural or societal or religious or sexual identity for you. And there is a rebellion here. This house is ferociously rebellious, and so is Aquarius. And we don't talk about how rebellious Sagittarius it is, but it is. Sagittarius has no F's to give if the belief system doesn't line up. So to ask a Sagittarius to not live in their truth is to ask a Sagittarius to die. And so if you are, and the ninth house is Sagittarius's house in the natural zodiacal wheel, you have Aquarius there, which is like the rebel pairing up with the rebel. So there is a deep, deep guttural, like, I will die, I will fall on my own sword, rather than not being true to my cause or my mission. Now, you may have been confused about, who am I? What is my cause? What is my mission? I just know this indoctrination of this belief system isn't working for me. I don't want to be the subservient child at 50 years old. I don't want to be boxed in taking care of my parents and my children and paying all their bills and they use me. I don't want to be in this family's belief system. I don't want to be owned by my alcoholic, abusive father. I don't want this religion, this spirituality. I don't want to live in this cult. I don't believe in your political belief systems. What is it? And I'm telling you, I bet you anything, if you have Aquarius here in the ninth house, I bet you anything, you are so brilliant. And you may have mentally outgrown your very oppressors. Like, your oppressors might be quite stupid. Forgive me. I don't want to imply that. That goes across the board. But this is quite a genius placement, because it's the higher mind twice. The ninth house is exercising the higher mind. And then Aquarius is the higher octave of Mercury. And it's quite the genius. And so I'm not saying that you are just this guru, brilliant person. However, I think you're going to see where you've been tricked, lied to, short-sighted, where you've been drinking someone else's Kool-Aid around what your identity should be. And you're probably a pretty powerful person. But for some reason, it's been hard to escape these deep-seated beliefs that have been placed upon you, or that you have latched onto out of trauma. Let's just say you're born into a family structure that you just don't even believe in, but you don't dare leave it because you don't want to rock the boat, and you don't even know how you would support yourself or what kind of job or who you are in the real world without them. So you just stay, and you stay connected to this false spiritual path that you don't believe in. And I'm telling you, my sweet friend, that's a dead man walking. So Pluto can give you a renewed sense of self and a renewed sense of purpose if you can get in touch with, and believe me, they're bubbling up and over the next 20 years. And whatever you're doing right now, like, you might just be stepping, let me tell you something. When it's at the 0 degree, we've only taken one breath out of 20 years of breathing of this transformation. So you might just be getting a feeling, having some insight. You might be just thinking about these things. You might not have planted your seeds or plotted your escape yet. There is this authentic, truer belief system that is living inside of you, that if you can do your Pluto work, you have to confront your ego. You're going to wrestle with your ego. And remember, Pluto represents the psychological wound. That's why I want you to go watch my video titled Beware, Proceed with Caution. What does Pluto mean in your natal chart? That's the video I want you to watch. And then I have 3 videos, Pluto through the houses in your natal chart. Watch those videos. This is painful and yet liberating, because when you can confront Pluto, when you can confront that you've been living a lie. Now listen, I am not blaming you. It was safer to live a lie all this time than to figure out your own spiritual truth and connect to your philosophical, your psychological, your astrological, your sexual, whatever part of your life you have been indoctrinated into. It's been easier to live that way than to step in the truth of your belief systems about you. And now you're being asked to reevaluate, redesign, and grow your own belief systems and get rid of the ones that have held you down, held you back, bullied you, dominated you, conformed you into what society or your culture, your religion or your parents wanted from you, and become that magnificent person who is starting to figure out what you truly believe in, and then you start becoming it. Pluto is challenging you right now. Pluto is telling you, I'm going to deconstruct that which you believe in and that which has shaped your identity. It could even be a relationship to drugs or alcohol, believing that you need those things. Or it could even cross over into like a career if you are one with your career. Let's talk about it this way. It doesn't matter if you like these people or don't. I'm just using them as examples. Gene Simmons from Kiss. If I told him back in the day, maybe even now, you can never sing again, you never get to perform, you never get to wear the makeup ever again. And let's say this is back in the day, and you don't get to sing in this band anymore. Who would he be? So when I say indoctrinated into, it could be that you chose it. And then I think he confessed that he has slept with over 10,000 women as a rock star. So what if I took all that away from him? And I said, no, you're supposed to, now you're not going to have that anymore. So Gene, you got to figure out who you want to be. Do you see how painful it would be to take off the makeup, not sing in the band, not have platinum records, not be a rock star, not get to have all the booze, drugs, and free sex that he's had? He might be very, very lost. He might feel like the entire earth just shattered underneath him. And he might not even have the motivation, the desire, or the faith to even go out and create the more authentic Gene Simmons. We could do that with a lot of people when they've merged with their job. I think of people, now everybody's doing it, but I think Cher created it, where she gave herself a name, Cher, and then Madonna, and then Lady Gaga, her name's Stephanie. And so now everybody's doing that. They're creating their one name, stage name, and they identify with it. But another person is like Oprah, where she doesn't go to a job. She is her legacy. Beethoven, he is his legacy. He is his work is his soul, right? What if I told Beethoven, you don't get to play the piano or write a symphony anymore? You don't get to write music anymore. What would that man do? What would that man do? Because I think he played the piano even when he became deaf until the day he died. It's very profound. And it may have even felt like the thing that you were indoctrinated into called you to it, or you designed it, or it gave you blessings. In truth, like for Gene Simmons even, something deeper, more profound. There's something more meaningful for him beyond the Kiss rock and roll band. And so how does he want to use that platform? This new belief system is going to, or getting rid of, or just the process of evaluating, what lie have I been telling myself or living in? Or it doesn't even have to be a lie. It's that this belief system is no longer rewarding. It's no longer serving you. It's no longer necessary. You've outgrown it. You are having the transit Pluto and Aquarius in the 9th house is the higher mind times 2. It might just be not this terrible, god-awful thing that was done to you that you're a victim of, although that is very likely. It could also be that, I don't know, you were studying engineering and now you find engineering to be soulless and now you want to try your hand at art. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you believe in art as the poetry for life. So it could just be that you've outgrown your own self. It's just so moving. I mean, Pluto, just because I know the potency inside this stick of dynamite, it just moves me to tears, because anybody with this placement, my heart really goes out to them, because when you don't have that thing that you believe in anymore, what do you have? I just watched this video on YouTube, and this man went and traveled to Boulder, Colorado. It kind of broke my heart, because he went there because it's claimed to be the skinniest city in the United States. And he went there and he said everywhere he went, he found people that were massively in shape, like just workaholic workout people. Like, how do I say it? Workoutaholics. And everywhere he went, he felt guilty eating a brownie at this cafe. And so I was watching this YouTube video. He travels to all these different cities and he explores them through this lens. And what kind of broke my heart were the comments. So the comments were comment after comment after comment after men, women, young girls, old men, like 65-year-old men, were talking about how they live there and they have an eating disorder, bulimia, anorexia, body dysmorphia, and that it's like a workout junkie world. And it broke my heart because they talk about, and the comments were just huge, they talk about how the belief system there, the culture there is so uber healthy that there's kind of this guilt and shame that runs that town, Boulder, Colorado. And there's a lot of beautiful things about Boulder. I mean, it's beautiful. And the people were very friendly and lovely. But the comments just crushed my soul. So sometimes you can get indoctrinated. And I'm sorry, it moved me to tears because Pluto transit is so tricky. And especially like when it's in the 9th house or the 6th house, you could be indoctrinated into a world that is quite virtuous, healthy lifestyle. Isn't that virtuous? That's so virtuous until you overdo it to the place that you are shamed. Moderation, of course, is the key. And so the belief system around this healthy lifestyle becomes quite unhealthy when it's overdone. It can happen like that too. So it's not just that some bad thing finds you and seduces you into doing heroin, although that can be. It could be something quite virtuous seduces you into playing with it until you start to self-sabotage, like what I just was talking about with Boulder, Colorado. And so this house is very tender for me because you're going to see the smoke and mirrors around things that you have believed in. Look for them. Would you comment for me? And let me know if you can even see an inkling of this. Remember, we're at the 0 degree, and that 0 degree is just your first breath. So you might not know. You might not know why you have an ache inside of you. Jupiter is the natural ruler of the 9th house because it's Sagittarius' house, and every sign has a planetary ruler. Go watch my Astrology 101. Mars is the thing that makes you go and jog. So Mars takes its orders from Jupiter, the belief system, why you should go and jog, why jogging would be good for you. So without a belief system or knowledge or a higher knowledge, understanding that jogging is good for you, you wouldn't jog. And that's the 9th house. And so when we have Pluto here, it kills off belief systems. And it's very painful. Maybe now you just learned that jogging is not good for you. And you can't jog, and you've been a marathon runner your whole life. You could come into false gods, false gurus, or you could let go of them at this time. The second thing I want to tell you is culture shock is a real thing. Every time I travel, it's weird. A little piece of me is born anew, and a little piece of me dies because I can see clearly what's wrong with my life when I'm traveling. And then I also feel so fulfilled in living life to the fullest. I feel like I'm squeezing every single drop out of the lemon, and I feel so euphoric, right? And then I want to implement the things that aren't working at home that I learn abroad. And it's traveling makes me very, very fulfilled. It's euphoria, but it also can make me equally disenchanted with my own life. There's little mini deaths inside of traveling. They're not necessarily bad. I think they embolden us. I think they make our worlds better, sweeter, stronger. I love falling in love with people that are different than me. That's my favorite thing of traveling. For example, this is like a silly example, but when I lived in Cambodia, my dad lived there for 3 years in Phnom Penh with the United Nations. One of the things is we had to live in the Hun Sen compound. He was a diplomat there. He had diplomatic status. And so we had a bodyguard. Everybody did. And our bodyguard walked the line of the roof of our house with an AK-47. And that was our bodyguard. And we just hoped that he, was awake if anything bad happened. That was quite shell-shocking for me. I was only 23 years old. I was literally shell-shocked. Like, what? I had never even seen an AK-47 in my whole life. I had never seen a bodyguard barefoot in shorts and a tank top walking the line of the roof, right? And culture shock. I was living in New York City at the time. I just had never seen anything like that. And it gave me such a deep understanding around what a safe life I was actually living at that time in New York City. What was at that time one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Now, not as much, I don't think. And I took all that for granted. That completely changed my belief system. That completely put me into a tailspin of culture shock. That completely rearranged my belief system around safety, my philosophical relationship to the concept of safety. That's one tiny, teeny, weeny example. When you travel right now and you have Pluto transiting your house of travel, long distance travel, you're going to experience little mini deaths and rebirths. And so there was a death for me in that story around how safe are people? What is safety? Did I grow up in a bubble or secluded? Yeah, I kind of did. I never knew that until I got there. Traveling is the encyclopedia for understanding the world. It's the best education you can give yourself. But if you have Pluto in Aquarius transiting the ninth house, be ready for little miniature deaths. Let me talk just really briefly about the Aquarius piece of this. There is going to be an upgrade in your life around technology, around your belief system, around advancing humanity in a way. That's really the 11th house. But Aquarius wants to advance humanity. I'm going to tell you, there's going to be now, because it's Aquarius, it's going to be radical changes. This isn't Taurus. This isn't Pluto in Taurus in the ninth. This is Aquarius. Aquarius is barbed. It's like barbed wire in a way. It's really uncomfortable. So your changes are going to be radical and innovative. So this is going to be a time where you get quite innovative around what you believe in. So don't take the easy way out if you have Pluto transiting the ninth. Figure out how to innovate your life, how to make multiple streams of income if you believe in financial prosperity, how you can manifest or innovate or engineer having all that you believe in. I also want to tell you that you're going to connect with other people in a way, maybe through the internet, maybe through technology, maybe through Telegram, WhatsApp, I don't know. But you're going to connect with other communities and other people that are like-minded, that are going to teach you a new belief system. So find your new community. Hey, it might be soul navigation. Find your new community. Find your new spiritual soulmates. Find your new spirituality through other people. New friends of foreign descent, somebody other than you, are going to come into your life right now. See them through a new lens. I also want to tell you that if you have a little bit of a narrow mind about what people or society or religions or, should look like or act like, now you're going to have a radically more open mind around people. Probably like opening up the border. It's like opening up your mind, right? Like getting to know different cultures, different music, and it will upgrade you. So sort of like leaving the sheltered life. Like I said, I didn't know that I was living in such a safe environment, grew up in just so much safety. I didn't know that having that bodyguard like that was even a thing. Didn't even know. Now, that was many, many years ago. Now it's a whole nother belief system around that. I'm just telling you about my first exposure to that when I was 23 years old. By the way, I'm 58. So that was a long time ago. I mean, I was just coming into my womanhood, being a woman. But now I want you to know that there's going to be radical societal changes and activities that want to upgrade you and get you to see life unconventionally or less conventionally. There is going to be a desire to have unconventional journeys, experiences. You might listen to unconventional music. I don't know, maybe you've been a heavy metal rocker your whole life and now you want to learn classical. It's like that because, I don't know, there's a new belief system around classical music. Get ready for massive changes around culture, around travel, around philosophy, around religion. But what is the whole point of it? The whole point of Pluto in Aquarius transiting this house is to get you to upgrade your belief system and let go of your, I think, ego's belief system. So the ego kind of believes in false gods, false gurus. And now at the subconscious level, what's happening is your soul is desiring to experience and express and learn new truths, new belief systems. So there's going to be an immersion in new studies. I also want to tell you, I invite you to write. This is the house of the published author. Write about your Plutonian experience, the killing off of the old studies, the old pursuits, where you thought you were in your higher mind only to learn. There's so much more to learn. As you get smarter, you get less wise because you learn that there are new questions after every bit of knowledge that you get. And it only gets more and more vast. That is this house. I also want to tell you one other thing, and this was something that I learned in Howard Sasportis's work. I love him. He's a great astrologer. I credit him for a lot of my understanding in Pluto. And by the way, if you are learning from me or from other teachers, credit them with your understanding and with your work. I don't try to pretend that these are all my thoughts. These are thoughts from 3,000 years ago that I'm communicating with you. And I have learned from just gobs and gobs and gobs of great, brilliant, scholarly astrologers. And so in Howard's work, I learned that when Pluto transits the ninth house, we oftentimes run into the law, problems with the law, because this is also the house with the law. So do not drink and drive under this transit. No, you should never drink and drive. But I'm just saying this is a time when you could get busted, have a run-in with the law. So if the policeman, unduly pulls you over and asks for your identification, don't argue with him. Just give it to him. Just give it to him. And I want to say that this can also create problems with your mother-in-laws, your sister-in-laws, your father-in-law, all your in-laws. And what it does is it helps you uncover what you really believe in and what you really value, your higher mind. This is also an opportunity for you to communicate in a way that is more far-reaching, through a book, through technology, through the web, and the microphone, the megaphone, it doesn't matter, but communicating in a broader way. And this is also a time when your writings could be published. This is a time when you could go on the airwave, where you could be interviewed. You could also run into problems if you don't learn how to, I think, diplomatically communicate your beliefs, diplomatically communicate, because Sagittarius is very rash and Aquarius has so many thoughts. Sometimes it doesn't think before it speaks. And so there is an impulsion here. It's an impulsiveness. And so you can kind of get into trouble with your words a little bit. That happens only because you're supposed to learn how to not get in trouble with your words. Be cautious, be careful. You can't please everyone. It seems like there's two sides to every single story so blatantly right now. Sometimes we don't even know what to believe in. What do we believe in? Is this issue good or bad? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? I can't see it to be so. So with this house, do your higher mind research and really research before you do use your words. I don't want your words to bring upon undue pain for you. There's going to be a very deep transformation in your life, and you're going to look back. Hopefully you'll watch this video in 20 years' time. You're going to look back and you're going to see how your belief system changed. And with your belief system is born a whole new person. I've got some surprises with Pluto and Aquarius transiting the 10th house. It's very unique, and I have a unique take on this transit. It's massive in this placement. Why? Because it's an angle. So if you have Aquarius on the first house cusp, the fourth house cusp, the seventh house cusp, or the 10th house cusp, it's massive. It is extra powerful. I don't think we really need Pluto to be extra powerful, because now it's nuclear. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. That was kind of a joke, but it is very big. So when Pluto is transiting in the 10th house, this is like your place in the world. And so this is a different kind of mask. It's not always a fake mask, but this is like how the world perceives you. So if you have Aquarius in the 10th house, and if you have Aquarius, you have those 0 degrees in the 10th house, or maybe it starts in the 9th and then it moves into the 10th. As I said, this is a very big placement. And I want to tell you that you are going to be actually upgrading, giving yourself a reboot around who you are in the world, your legacy, your career, your calling, and also your relationship with your parents. And I want to talk about that because this is the parental access. The 4th and the 10th house, oftentimes the 10th house belongs to the father, the 4th, the mother. However, this is why I'm a modern evolutionary astrologer. Like in my daughter's chart, I definitely am in the 10th house. I am also in the 4th house, but she can see me in both places because I'm her only parent. So sometimes there will be a role reversal where you'll find your father in the 4th and your mother in the 10th, but it is the authority over you. So maybe your grandmother or your uncle raised you. Well, that person would be found in the 10th most likely, and maybe also the 4th. So this is the parental access. And so there's going to be a huge metamorphosis and a shift, a transformation, probably with the relationship to your parents. But let's start out first with telling you just a little bit more about Pluto transiting here. The reason why I said this is such a big and dynamic placement is oftentimes when Pluto, the planet of Hades, Pluto is where we experience death and destruction. And hopefully you've already heard me tell you how to watch this video and you didn't just skip to this part. At least go back to the very beginning of this video and watch my entire Pluto playlist, watch my Pluto and Aquarius video. I talked about an hour and 10 minutes on what Pluto and Aquarius even means. I would also like for you to watch my video, the meaning of the 10th house, because if you have Pluto here, it is no small thing. And you are asking the question of, who do I want to be in the world? What gifts do I have to share with the world? What is my calling? What legacy do I truly want to leave behind? And the legacy you thought you wanted to leave behind is going to have a major shift in it. You're either going to step into more power at this time, or you will be dismissed from a powerful position and you will reinvent the wheel. I'll tell you this one little story. So when I was working in New York City, and if you are a member, I know that you probably have already heard this story because I share my personal stories with you in my super supporter exclusive videos. So thank you for being a member. And if you're not, please join the channel for just $2.99. I would be so grateful and you will learn so many new things. And you'll get invitations to my members only parties, discounts, and it's even free if you become a superstar super supporter. But when I was working in New York City, I got this job that was pretty high paying. I worked myself up through Scholastic Publishing, and I became the executive assistant to the executive vice president, first female vice president of a publishing company. And she was quite cruel. She was Cruella de Vil. I tell a lot of these stories. But after a year of that, I almost had a nervous breakdown and I was just like, this isn't my calling. This isn't what I was born to be. And I made pretty good money, especially right out of college. I went from managing Clifford the Big Red Dog to becoming her executive assistant. So it was a giant promotion. It was a $20,000 promotion. And I was young. I was 21 years old. I took this job. I was making great money. I was living in Manhattan on Madison Avenue, if you can imagine. I didn't have a Pluto 10th house transit, but I would love to know the transit I did have. I have to go back because this is before I even was doing astrology. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I hate this. If this is what making money is, I don't want to make any. So guess what I did? I quit that job and I took a job with an organization called Education for Democracy. And you got assigned a place in the world to teach conversational English as a second language to students in public schools anywhere in the world. And I put my hat in and I said, I'll go anywhere. I didn't care if it was Brazil, Argentina. I didn't care. I'd go anywhere. So I got assigned to Czechoslovakia. And I was there during the Velvet Revolution when Czechoslovakia broke up into two countries, Slovakia and the Czech Republic. And I danced in the streets of Bratislava, and I'm in National Geographic in the centerfold dancing in the street. All of my students saw me on television and I was like, yes, I'm Americanki, Nevitel. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm American. I'm celebrating with you. It was so much fun. But guess what? I got room and board. I lived with a little grandmother, Anna, that I absolutely loved and adored in this tiny town in Piastany. Is anybody here from Piastany? If you are, oh my gosh, I'm giving you a big giant hug. I don't know if there's anybody here from Slovakia. And Thermia Palace. And anyways, I taught English at the public school to 8th graders. Oh, wow. Was that ever an experience? To 8th graders who like to cheat on their tests. Guess what I got paid? I got paid 75 cents an hour. I'm going to tell you something remarkable, and this is back to the 10th house. I found my calling, teaching, just like I'm doing here today. I found my calling. I found my calling in connecting with the truth inside of my students that were emerging young adults. It was extraordinary. It was a different kind of pressure. I am now poor. I now don't have money to do much. I start the next chapter of my years of being very, very poor. And I gave up all the riches of New York, the grind, the golden handcuffs, the health insurance. And so I will tell you, I absolutely loved it. And I found my truth. I found my calling. I found my joy. I found euphoria. And it was much bigger than the paycheck that I received. It was a deep spiritual journey into the self-discovery of my calling. That's what this Pluto in Aquarius transiting the 10th house will feel like. Leaving something that you're supposed to do. I got an education. I got a college degree. I was supposed to be I was groomed for corporate America. I was groomed for, take a bite out of the apple, dream big, go to New York, make it big. And I could have done that. I could have stayed in that. I could have found my way. New York is, by the way, probably my favorite city in the entire world. I love New York. I know I look West Coast, I talk West Coast, but I'm very East Coast on the inside. I'll never lose that part of New York because one of the things I love about New York is you can be anything you want. It's just hard to be poor in New York. This house is not always attached to financial goals, financial status, financial success. However, when you do stand in the truth of your calling, I do think you become eventually, if you stick with it, financially abundant. Now, there are people that never get to see that and they stand in their calling. But the truth of their life might not be around money. But this is about upgrading your life, standing in your authentic self to pursue your calling and your legacy, how you will be remembered, how you will be held in the arms and in the knowledge and in the light forever. You're going to probably experience a deep pain. Can you imagine the doubt that I had inside myself, leaving this giant corporate arena to go make 75 cents an hour? By the way, you know what I did? I set up a fundraiser for all the kids at the school, not necessarily eighth graders. I didn't know I was going to be assigned eighth graders until I got to the school and they go, yeah, you have the eighth grade class. What? I'm scared. That's like junior high. I can't do that. I thought you were going to start me off with like third grade English conversation. Anyways, I did so many fun things in that class. I mostly interpreted lyrics to songs that they never had heard before, but wanted to. They had me translate Tiny Dancer. It was so cute. And AC/DC. It was really funny. Anyways, I worked at Scholastic Publishing, so I got every single employee at headquarters Scholastic to donate a book, to buy a book at wholesale, which we got that discount, and to give it to me so I could then ship to the school, and I built them a library. I just thought, why not? And so I had shipped like 17 boxes of books, hundreds of books, and they just kept coming and kept coming. God, do you know they arrived by the time I was leaving? Yeah, it took so long. It took like months. Some of those boxes came 6 months later. Anyways, that's a fun story to remember. And I hope that it inspires you around the truth of what you're doing with your time, building and creating the legacy of you. How will you be remembered? What is your public face? This isn't who you are laying in bed at night. This is literally who you are in the world. Now, one of the most important things about this is that you are building a set of gifts and talents and strengths. Those gifts, talents, and strengths will be absolutely meaningless if you keep them all to yourself. And this house is the house that encourages you to share your talent with others. Share your gifts, share what you're good at. It doesn't matter if it's a cookie recipe. It doesn't matter how profound it is. It just matters that you share it. And so you're going to have this deep, deep, profound shift in change in how you want to be seen and how you are seen. And there could even be a little bit of a death of the old self, of the old version of your calling. You may not feel that it's rewarding. You may be asked to step down. You may be treated poorly because let me tell you, whatever house you have Pluto transiting, that is the arena, that is the playground where you are going to have power struggles, where you will have little miniature deaths, where you will experience bullies. You might be bullied. You might even be the bully. So are you the benevolent boss? Are you the benevolent CEO? Or are you running your show like a tyrant? Do your employees deserve more from you? Does your team deserve a kinder version of you? Can you be more grace under pressure here? Or are you just a tyrannical maniac driving your team, to hit their quotas, hit their goals, do more, drive harder, be faster, make more? Is that you? And is that what you really value? And do you want to be like that? Or is this all transforming and shifting. Remember, I told you back on the 9th house and the 8th house, and I hope that you're watching all the houses because I want you to know that which you are not experiencing. And you'll understand this house more if you understand the houses in which you are not having this transit. And if you have Pluto natally in the 9th house, this is a good portion of this video to watch, but I also encourage you, please watch my entire Pluto playlist. Please watch the video that says beware, beware. What does Pluto in the natal chart mean? And then I have also Pluto through the houses in my playlist. But this is transiting Pluto in Aquarius in the 10th house specifically, but you can learn a lot about Pluto in the 10th just listening to this. For anybody listening to this, I'm really proud of you for doing this hard work because this is more advanced. This is really deep. This is when Hades looks at you straight in the eyes and you're looking straight down the barrel of that gun. And what are you going to do, right? Are you going to transform? Yes, you are. Why? Because you're watching this channel. And this is the channel that has people that want the truth, that want depth, that want to understand deeper complexities that go beyond sun sign astrology. Do you remember in almost every video I say, we're not doing sun sign astrology? I did this reading for this client yesterday. It was a 2-hour reading. She said to me, you haven't even talked about my son, her son in Leo in the 9th. I'm like, there is so much here. Your son is so quiet. I have to talk about these louder aspects. So sometimes you can do a whole entire reading and it's not even really about your son. Isn't that crazy? So I'm a modern evolutionary astrologer. By the way, it's very important that you know what kind of astrologer you are listening to. So if you were expecting, to walk into a Buddhist temple and you show up at a Baptist church in Alabama, you need to know, like, hey, where's the monk? I was looking for the monk. No, you got the Baptist preacher. You need to be born again. And I'm a modern astrologer. I do listen to some traditional astrologers, but they usually use whole signs. I don't use whole signs. We are using, on my channel, we use the Placidus house system because I believe in the complexity of the chart. And when you use the Placidus house system, sometimes you will have this Aquarius energy up to three houses, not just one. And if you use whole sign, it's only in one. And I also don't believe in traditional interpretation for the year 2024. We've advanced. Hopefully, our minds have gotten bigger, brighter, and smarter. And now we're working with Aquarius. So we're ushering in a new era, a whole new generation, a whole new way of thinking. You guys, we are being completely upgraded. We're moving into deep technology with this Pluto in Aquarius. And we just finished Capricorn. So go back and watch this whole video watch the whole series because you'll learn a lot because I talk about tiny little golden nuggets in each of the signs. In Howard's work, Howard Sesportus, he talks about your external world looks like your subconscious. If your world is unattractive, there is something in your subconscious that believes your world should be unattractive. One of the things I love about my husband is his subconscious is optimistic, far more so than mine. He has a world that usually works out pretty well for him because his subconscious psyche attracts positivity because that's what he believes in. I want to tell you that your subconscious is actually dictating what you're doing in the 10th house right now with this transit. And this is the part that I wanted to share with you from Howard's book. He's wonderful. He talked about how when Pluto transits the 10th house, he actually describes how you might find that you get your own self fired because you might be so unfulfilled. You might find that you get your own self demoted. You might find that you attract to yourself the wrong job so you can feel what the wrong job feels like, so you can therefore upgrade and find the right calling. So when I say job, I kind of mean calling. Your work, your daily work is in the 6th house. And he didn't say all that. I'm paraphrasing, but he talks about how you might be in working conditions that don't serve you because your psyche is attracting that. And so I really want you to work with attracting positivity, fulfillment, and abundance. And when I taught those 8th graders, one of the things I learned was the power of meeting somebody right where they were at. I channeled my inner eighth grader and I taught them conversational English as if I was an eighth grader. I became kind of a peer in a way. And that was what made that job so fun. I even felt like getting 75 cents an hour was rich because it paid me in deeper rewards. Really getting honest with yourself about how you can advance and upgrade, come from your higher mind, challenge yourself more, get out of this job that is powerless, going nowhere, get out of this job where you have a domineering power struggle between you and your workforce or your boss or your calling. Maybe you no longer want to play, first chair trumpet anymore, and you don't want to be in the marching band anymore, and you want to instead go do something radically crazy. So this is also a time where you're going to rebel against. That's why I told you that story. Okay, by the way, my parents did not like that. They were like, no, you cannot leave and go anywhere. I'm not sending you, to the outskirts of Africa for you to go teach. No, 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 no. And I did it anyway. You're going to be a little bit rebellious. It's going to happen to you anyways. You're going to be placed into a situation where you're going to have to think about your calling, your legacy, who you want to be in the world, how you want to redo, how you want to remake, living in the truth of your calling, living in the power of your calling. When you're in your calling, it is powerful. It is so powerful. You are immovable. I mean, nobody can talk you out of it. My parents were highly influential in my life. They could not talk me out of going to Czechoslovakia at the time. I know it's Slovakia now, but it was Czechoslovakia at the time. They could not talk me out of it. Nobody could. I left. I even left my boyfriend. Okay, so Robert Hand, one of the world's greatest astrologers of all times. I know him personally, taken many of his classes. I also get to brag that I've had a beer in a bar with him. I studied with him at Oxford University in England. I absolutely love him. He is a mad genius. He speaks fluent Latin and he reads original transcripts. He is a traditional astrologer. He does use whole signs. And I respect his craft greatly. And he is the Albert Einstein, in my opinion, of astrology. Anyways, one of the things that he says, and I like to credit him in my work, in my research, again, I don't want anybody to think that, oh, these are all Meredith's original thoughts. No, I've been studying astrology for over 25 years from great teachers, absolutely phenomenally great teachers. And I feel really blessed by that. One of the things he says is this transit can topple you. And it can even topple your career. Like, it's when Smokey Robinson, didn't hit platinum. It can tank you. And it can be even something like, do you remember Milli Vanilli when they performed on the Grammys or at the Super Bowl or something and they were lip syncing and then everybody found out that they didn't really sing their songs? It can topple you. And so Robert Hand warns about don't be a grifter. You will not win with Pluto here. Do not cheat. Don't make a fake university. Don't make a fake award show. Don't plagiarize other people's work. Don't be an imposter. Don't be a phony. Don't fake your calling. Do what you're good at. Live and build your skill set on your own merits. Do not use AI to write your thesis paper or your English AP paper. Do not do it. Be authentically you. By the way, I want to tell you right now, I do not use AI for anything. Nothing. I don't use AI to generate the reports in my shop. I don't use AI for my material. I don't use AI at all. I don't want to dilute my brain that way. I want to do the work myself. And I even recommend that you hand draw your own chart. Draw it over and over and over with all your planetary placements until you have it etched into your brain. So when I say, what degree is your sun at? You say 15 degrees Virgo. Right? I kind of need to put AI in here because it's Aquarius and Pluto and you could get into trouble or the answers could be wrong. I remember one time I was playing with AI and this is how I decided not to use it. I was playing with the AI and I was thinking that I could create a PowerPoint out of it or something. It was so dumb. My basic answers were smarter than, they gave me wrong answers. Didn't know anything on the subject. And I know AI is getting smarter. AI is still it's not quite as smart as me, at least not on this subject in astrology. It's probably smarter than me in other subjects, but not on this subject. And so keep yourself smart. Do not grift, do not cheat, do not plagiarize, do not take shortcuts. Win on the merits of your own self, because this is the time when you will get exposed. Frauds will get exposed. The frauds that are involved in your career, on your record label, your producer, if they are fraudulent, the light will shine on them and they will get busted. And I don't want that to be you. I would rather get a B- on a paper that I truly wrote than an A+ on a fake paper that I wrote using AI. I would rather be proud of myself. You've got to grow your gifts right now, and you're going to grow them to benefit humanity, to advance society. Do your research, use technology to help you inside your job. How can you also work with groups and communities to help bolster up your dreams? These things might all shift. You might be involved with a whole new entity, a whole new enterprise, a whole new group, a whole new society, a whole new community or committee. You might get invited into a board of directors position or a committee partnership of some sort for like really out of the box thinking. This is the time to be radically innovative in your thought process around how you can step into your calling and then how you execute the details of your calling. Get really sophisticated in your thinking around how you can build the infrastructure of your true legacy, of your true purpose. This is when the question, what is the meaning of my life? Who am I supposed to be in this world? What is my little slice of the pie? What community am I supposed to partake in or influence or help or serve, right? And it might be a completely different community than the one that you have been previously working with. It's kind of an upgrade in this part of your life. But I'm telling you, wherever Pluto is, pain, loss, devastation, destruction happen. So if you find yourself bankrupt with this placement, you lost your job, bankruptcy, now you might lose your home. Remember, the 10th and the 4th are connected. Don't lose your faith. Step into a truer calling. It's just a statement saying, we're going to help you lose this so you value it, so you cherish it, and you step into a deeper truth. You do greater work, better work, more rewarding work, more fulfilling work in order to survive the rest of your life in a deeper truth. So when I started out on that pathway, teaching English as a second language in Slovakia, making 75 cents an hour, I thought that that's exactly what I was doing. But what I really was doing was I was discovering a truth around my soul's truer fulfillment. That's what was really happening. And I realized that in order to find that euphoria, I didn't even need to be paid. It was so rewarding. Now brace yourself for a little bit of a harder truth about this transit. And if you like this work, I want to invite you to come learn with me in person. I am doing 2 workshops in person this year. One will be in Europe. My destination is a surprise. I can't wait. But in May 15, 16, 17, and 18th, I am teaching down here on the Seattle waterfront in Seattle, Washington. It is gorgeous. Snow-capped mountains, glistening skies. We're going to be right on the waterfront. It is going to be so, so, so amazing. And if you want to, you can buy a ticket. I still have tickets available. I'm going to tell you, it is going to sell out. This one always sells out. You can just go to teamsoulnavigation.com and you can go to Meredith's Astrology Workshops and Retreat. We play at night. Oh my gosh, I have the most fun thing we are going to do. And for anybody who is a super supporter, a member of this channel, I'm going to have an exclusive dinner with you. It's a private dinner for just my members, and I cannot wait. So get ready for the details. But if you go to soulnavigation.com and you click on Meredith's Astrology Workshop and Retreat, you can go see all of the details in the curriculum that I'm teaching. I'm really excited to teach this workshop. One of the things I'm going to teach is golden linkages. So soulmate astrology. I'm going to teach you about family tree astrology, how you inherited your astrological karma and DNA. That's going to be really thrilling. And I'm also going to teach you how to find the agony and the ecstasy of your chart. Oh my God. So if you want to explore deep transformational astrology with me, come to my immersion workshop, because we will be transforming. You will not see yourself in the same way. And it's going to be just phenomenal. I can't wait. So you can go get tickets, soulnavigation.com. Go check out all the details. Now, the thing that I wanted to tell you, and this is kind of hard to hear, and I don't want to break anybody's heart, but when you have Pluto transiting the 10th house, there is usually oftentimes a loss, a transformation inside your relationship with your parents, or with the person who raised you or the authority over you. I usually see this though with parents, and there can be a sickness, there can be a death, there can be a divorce, there can be a separation, a loss. And you might see though that your relationship with your parents or parent maybe needed space. Maybe it's like it's time to be freed from that. Maybe your parents have become too small for you in some way. There's too much obligation, or you can't handle the caretaking of them as easily. I don't know what the truths are, but the truths are usually uncomfortable and the truths can be painful. Now, I'm not saying everybody who has Pluto transiting the 10th house is going to have a parental, figure die in their life. But there usually is some sort of stepping away from, redefining, transforming. And oftentimes it comes through an illness or a loss to a parent. Also, I want to tell you that I think what this placement, when I'm talking about the parent, if you have already had your parent pass away and you're having this transit, it could be that this is a coming to terms of forgiveness, doing the work with them in heaven. I cleared up a lot of my resentments, my anger, and my shame around my biological father after he passed away. So you can still do the work. And this is almost like a facing the shame, facing the truth of that parent, standing in the truth, standing in healing that relationship. And so it can be very profound and transformative. I think Pluto in Aquarius in the 10th is here to reform, transform our relationship to authority figures, the people that were in charge of us, the people that took care of us, our mentors, our guides, our bosses, our commanders, right? And our relationship to them. And now maybe we're stepping into a peer relationship with our parents or a goodbye relationship to our parents. And if we can do it in a way where we don't have, I'm too big for this studio. I need more room. If we can do it in a way where we step more into becoming our own authority, also having a deep gratitude for what we did receive or what we didn't receive from our authority figures. So therefore we grew it ourselves, right? Like, oh, I had a very timid and weak-willed mother who had no courage and was agoraphobe and stayed at home, secluded in her bedroom. So what did I do? I went out into the world and became badass, right? That's not the truth of my situation, but I'm just showing you. Stepping into your own authority, dictating to yourself what is truly fulfilling for you to spend your time on and who you want to be in this world.